Hi there, Declan Conlon, life and mindfulness coach here. I've been putting up my meditations and podcasts now just for the last 2 to 3 weeks, and um, I'm getting good reaction to the meditations that I've put up. People find them helpful. So you can find them on my website, declanconlon.ie. I'm also on SoundCloud and Spotify. Now, the podcasts I do, I want to try and keep them as short as possible. They're little things that I feel help me and hopefully will help you to make small changes in your life. And if you can make one small change every week, then over 52 weeks, a year, you can have a huge change in your life and the way you live your life. So it's always about taking small steps and adding a whole load of small improvements together to have a really significant change. And it's all about being patient and not wanting everything to happen at the same time. So what I want to talk to you about this week is just self-care, taking care of ourselves. There is a Indian meditation which is called the Four Rooms meditation. It's based on the premise that in every individual there is four rooms. There is their physical room, their emotional room, the mental room, and your spiritual room. And really what we should do is on a regular basis, in the same way as you visit the rooms in your house to clean them and air them out, you should do the same with yourself, with the rooms inside yourself. So that's really the logic of it. So if you were to think about those four rooms inside you, so let's take them again. I'd like you to think about them now, and I'd like you to rate them for yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being bad and 10 being very good. So with regard to your physical room, think about what score you would give that on a scale of 1 to 10. And if you want to pause this recording at any time and write these things down in a notebook so that you can refer to them again, that actually would be a good idea if you can do that. The second thing then I want you to rate is your emotional state of mind. How are you? So are you angry? Are you sad? Are you happy? What way are you feeling? And again, how would you score it on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being bad and 10 being very good? So again, if you can, write it down. The third one then is your mental state of mind. How are you mentally on a scale of 1 to 10? Are you looking after your mind? Are you taking care of your mental health? Again, write it down. And the fourth one is your spiritual self. How are you on a scale of 1 to 10 with your spiritual self? Now, some people ask me what spiritual self means, and I kind of define it as your connection with the world, your purpose. Are you living your values? What's your reason? What's your why? It's connecting with all of those things. That's what I would define as spiritual. So maybe now you might like to pause for a minute and think about what you scored under each of those headings. And ask yourself, are you surprised or shocked, or are you pretty much in line with what you thought anyway? So we've got to try and keep those areas of our life in reasonable shape. I'm not saying that you have to score 10 on everything. That would be very difficult, wouldn't it? But you have to really be able to recognize if any one area or more than one area is having a particularly low score or is heading for a particularly low score. What can you do about it in the short, medium and long term to improve your score and improve that area of your life? So let's quickly go down through some examples. These are not exhaustive. They're just to give you something to think about. Of course, your physical self is looking after your body, really. And that could mean, taking more exercise or eating less food or getting your weight down and just looking after yourself like that generally. And there's a school of thought that says if your physical body is in good shape, it will certainly help the other ones as well. So the next one then is your emotional state. How are you from a point of view of, your emotions? Are you sad? Are you happy? Are you angry? What way are you feeling? And again, what could you do about it? One thing you could do is think about maybe doing some meditation or practicing mindfulness or taking up a mindfulness class or something like that, or read a book about it, because we have to learn how to manage our emotions, and our emotions are generally caused by our thoughts. Something happens, we have a thought about it, it generates an emotion, and then that generates a reaction. And sometimes we can get into a spiral of negative thinking, negative emotions, and negative reactions, and we find it difficult to get out of it. So there is a way of working on that as well. The next one then is your mental health. Are you looking after your mental health? Are you positive? Are you looking after your mind? Are you nourishing your mind maybe by reading or, doing crosswords or doing Sudoku or jigsaws or something which will stimulate your mind and will also, I suppose mindfulness as well is good for your mind. It helps your mental health as well. And the last one then is your spiritual being. And that's really, are you living your life with a purpose? Is there a purpose to your life? Are you connecting with people? Are you living according to your values? That's really the main thing it's about. And again, you've got to think, what could I do to improve that area of my life? Get involved in something or whatever. That's really an important part of your life as well. So when you take the whole four of them, there probably is things that you can do fairly easy to make small improvements, not major improvements, but small improvements and move in the right direction. And you can make improvements in your life that way then. In many instances, what can be done in these areas. There's an awful lot of information available about how to look after yourself now on magazines, TV programs, social media. And you probably know how to do a lot of these things, but why don't you? Or why don't we? We're always saying, well, I'll start tomorrow. It's always tomorrow, never now. So just try and get yourself into that frame of mind where you make a list of things this week that you're going to do and review the list every week. And keep your level of focus on it. Don't let it drift. Make it part of your end of week routine. And I will be doing a separate podcast about end of week routine and planning in the future. So I'll cover a bit more on that topic then. So when you're looking after yourself and self-care, it often means saying no to something and saying yes to something else which is good for you. So it's saying no to something maybe that's bad for you and saying yes to something that's good for you. So it's saying no to sitting in the chair, not going out for a walk, and saying, yes, I'm going to go for a walk, or saying, no, I'm not going to have that angry thought. I'm not going to get into a bad emotional state. I'm going to think a positive thought and I'm going to move on. Or it might mean I'm not going to sit and watch rubbish on television. I'm going to phone a friend of mine and have a chat, or I'm going to go and read a book, or I'm going to do something which will stimulate my mind. So that's another thing you could do. And what else could you say no to? I suppose from the spiritual point of view, you could say no to trying to live your life according to other people's values, trying to please other people and live the life that you want. What you want and your reason why you are here on this planet. So they're just some ideas which you can think about. It's not meant to be exhaustive, but the important thing to remember is that you've got to do something about it, and if you don't constantly monitor it, then nothing will happen. It's a bit like, regularly servicing your car or looking after maintenance on your house. If you don't service your car regularly or do regular maintenance on your house, they will deteriorate, won't they? So The same way, if you don't do regular maintenance on yourself, you will deteriorate as well. So that's really my thought for this podcast, and I hope you find it useful. I'm running mindfulness for living classes starting on September 24th at 8 p.m. These are online using Zoom, and they last for 5 weeks and cost €80. They're on at 8 p.m. at night, which should suit most people. You don't have to travel. You can do them from anywhere, and I can create a classroom type atmosphere using Zoom. I've done it already, and it works. So if you're thinking about mindfulness, maybe you might think about those classes. And there are details again about those classes on my website at declanconlon.ie. If you like this podcast or any of my meditations, I would really be grateful if you would like them and share them with people so that more people become aware of them and I get more listeners and help more people if I can. So that's the end of the podcast for this week, and I hope you have a good rest of your day and rest of your week, and I'll be talking to you again soon. But remember, look after yourself. Self-care is not being selfish. It's really important. Take care. Bye-bye.